Roughly 4 years ago, Ford introduced their brand's first ever fully production electric SUV wearing the coveted pony car name. The Ford Mustang Mach-E was designed to go head-to-head with the Tesla Model Y, and even though Americans have been reluctant to accept EVs, the Mach-E has consistently been #2 in the sales race, right behind that ubiquitous Tesla. Now for 2024, the Mach-E is getting some pretty big changes, one of which includes a brand new rear electric motor that has resulted in more power and more range. So as you can see this week, we're actually out here just outside of Seattle, Washington to get behind the wheel of this gorgeous eruption green Mach-E GT with a performance upgrade package. And the big question I want answered, has Ford managed to make enough changes to this Mach-E to make it worthy of that GT performance badge? Stay tuned to find out. So one of the big advantages with Ford leveraging the Mach-E name was the styling of this vehicle, because I personally think this is one of the best looking electric compact SUVs that you're going to find. And the other great benefit about this having that long hood to kind of give it a Mustang look is the fact that when you lift up this hood, you get the largest frunk, I believe, in the segment. Now Ford says this still measures 4.7 cubic feet. If you guys remember when this car first came out, it had these little dividers that divided it out into like 4 different quadrants. They've removed that since then. So now we just have this nice big storage area. There are cup holders in here. There's still a drain, of course. There's a little escape button here in case you've locked somebody in here. There's also an LED light. But overall, this is still one of the biggest frunks in the class. Remember, some competitors don't even give you a frunk, so this is a great selling feature with the Mach-E. Now, since we're underneath here, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain specs. Now, of course, the one that we're showing you here is the highest performance variant, at least until we show you guys the rally version, which we'll be driving tomorrow. But Ford has essentially upgraded everything about all the powertrains with the Mach-E. So they got a new LFP battery that was introduced last year. It's still available in 2 different sizes, a smaller battery pack and then the extended range battery pack, which is around 91 kilowatt hours. The smaller one's around 71 kilowatt hours. This model here with the GT Performance package includes the larger battery pack, so 91 kilowatt hours. And Ford says that horsepower has gone up across the board. So the base version offers 264 horsepower, increases to 290 if you go for the bigger battery pack. Add all-wheel drive, and that power increases to 325 with the smaller battery pack, or 365 with the bigger battery pack. The all-wheel drive versions offer 500 foot-pounds of torque. Now, of course, if you guys want to go for the GT version, this is where things get interesting, because Ford used to offer a GT and a GT Performance. Now you basically get a GT version with a performance upgrade package. It's like a software package that unlocks more power. All the GTs will offer 480 horsepower from their dual electric motors. Remember, the rear motor is brand new. It's in-house developed, and they've essentially taken it out of the Ford Lightning and stuffed it into the Mach-E. They've also upgraded the front electric motor with new hardware, new wiring. It has better thermal management, so the horsepower stays the same at 480 horsepower. However, the base GT will offer 600 foot-pounds of torque. Add the performance upgrade package for a steal at only $745, and it increases the torque now to 700 pound-feet of torque. That's around 72 more pound-feet of torque, or I'm sorry, like 62 more pound-feet of torque versus the pre-refreshed version. So that's a nice healthy increase. It all goes out through a 1-speed reduction gear transmission, and Ford says now this model here with the performance upgrade package will sprint to 60 in 3.3 seconds. So that's around a 0.2-second improvement. Without the performance upgrade package, Ford didn't quote the 0 to 60, at least as of this filming. I think I want to say it's around 3.8 seconds. So that is going to shrink the time by around a half a second compared to, of course, when you guys add that package. Range for this model is now at 280 miles. The longest ranging Mach-E is going to do up to 320. The Mach-E sadly is not rated to tow. This vehicle has a top speed of around 125 miles an hour. And as this car sits, we didn't have final curb weight figures just yet, but I'd estimate this car is right around 5,000 pounds, which I know is very, very heavy. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling. First of all, this exterior color is a new addition for 2024. Ford calls it eruption green. When I first saw this color on a Bronco, I really just wanted to call it erection green, because I think people who like green cars are probably going to do that, at least men are, when they see this color, especially in this beautiful sunlight. You can see it has this gorgeous metallic fleck in it. And it really just shows off the lines of this vehicle. The GT versions will have the unique front fascia, of course, with this kind of like faux grille. And then my particular tester has the bronze appearance package for an extra $2,000. That adds the bronze coloring in the grille. That logo, the Ford Running Horse logo, still illuminates at night. That's exclusive, of course, to the GT version. And then the headlights have also been upgraded. Ford says that all versions of the Mach-E now get the premium LED headlights. So you have an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal with a dynamic turn signal, and the light signature has now been changed to look very similar to the current generation, 7th generation Ford Mustang, the gas-powered model. You can see down here at the lower front area, you have these active grille shutters. You have this really nice, aggressive black painted front lip, along with integrated parking sensors, well-integrated front camera system. And overall, I still think this car is super attractive, especially in this color combination. I mean, the bronze exterior package with the eruption green, it looks very timeless, it looks very elegant, it looks really sporty. I think Ford did a phenomenal job. Now, moving around to the side profile, remember, this is still a mild refresh, so the styling hasn't really changed, at least in terms of the overall silhouette. You can see Ford definitely made this vehicle an interesting design because they kind of wanted to give it the shape of a coupe, especially with the fact that it doesn't have any door handles. We'll talk about that later on. But in terms of the overall length, the wheelbase of this car is around 117.5. It's around 186.7 inches long. So it's around the same size as a Tesla Model Y. And then you can see here the wheels on my particular test car. These are the included 20-inch wheels that you get with the bronze appearance package. I love the new design with the multi-spoke finish. This essentially replaces the wheels that you used to get on the GT Performance. Those flowery aerodynamic wheels that are 20s are still standard on the GT. You can essentially get this wheel in an also kind of like a machine gray finish as opposed to the bronze finish. And then the other great thing about all the GTs this year is the Magno rheological dampers are now standard. So that used to be part of that Performance, GT Performance, for an extra $5,000. It's now included, and you also get the big brakes. So these are 15.2-inch rotor at the front, clamped down by 4-piston Brembo calipers. That used to be exclusive to the GT Performance, but now all the GTs get it, along with the red painted calipers at the back, where it's just a single floating caliper design. You have an all-independent suspension, and overall, the tires are still a 245 by 40 R20 Michelin cross contact all-season or summer tires. So you have a choice between the two. This particular one that I'm showing you here has the all-season tire, which we'll talk about that, and you'll see how it accelerates later on. Now, the charge port door is located right here on the driver's side fender, and as you can see, this vehicle still uses the J1772 plug with the CCS combo. Ford will eventually adopt the NAC plug in 2025. Right now, however, they're shipping these with a Tesla adapter, so later this year, Ford says you should be able to go to a Tesla station and charge this vehicle, a DC fast charge the vehicle there. Ford says also they've improved the charging speed, so this can still accept up to 150 kilowatts, but now on the smaller battery pack, you can go from 10 to 80% in about 32 minutes. This battery pack, the bigger one, will do it in about 36 minutes. So that's around an 6 to 8 minute improvement, which is an improvement, still not among the quickest charging, but it's definitely still competitive. It has an 11.5 kilowatt onboard charger, which means you can go, from 10 to 100% on a level 2 at your home at a 48 amp in roughly like 8 to 10 hours, depending, of course, on the amperage of your home. The bronze appearance package also bronze out the badge right here. You can see it says Mach-E E4, which stands for all-wheel drive. X means it's the bigger battery pack, so kind of keep that in mind. You have these black painted side mirrors, which are power folding as well. They have integrated turn signals, and then you can see here, my particular test car is missing the panoramic glass roof. Now that roof will obviously create a black roof effect. It's an extra $1,500, which I feel like they used to make it standard, at least on the GT Performance trim, so now you have to add it as an a la carte option. I think it's definitely worth adding it as well, because without it, I think the green color clashes a little bit too much with the body color area. I prefer the black roof design. Now, looking at the rest of the trim, you can see you have these black painted, or you have black accents here for the window trim. And then you can see here, these are the unique door handles with the car, which are still present. You push that button here, it kind of pushes, an actuator pushes the door open. And if you don't pull the door out, it actually won't push back in. So you have to pull it out first. It's the same story here for the rear doors. You push that. Again, if you don't actually open the door won't allow you to close it back up. So that's a nice safety feature there to keep you, like kids, from crushing their fingers, which is a nice touch. You can see this area here really is going to remind you of a Mustang fastback design, which again, I really applaud Ford with the design of this car. It still looks good even after a few years on the market. You can see the taillights have that signature tri-bar look with the sequential LED turn signals. They still pretty much look the same compared to the pre-refresh models. You can see it's got that bronze color here as well on the rear, which is nice. Down here at the rear lower valence, things pretty much still look the same. This is, again, a handsome looking SUV, and it really does remind you of like a Mustang, an electric Mustang, which again is a kind of a point of controversy, but hey, it's done really well for Ford. And then in terms of the cargo space, this is where, this is gonna have way more practicality than any two-door Mustang or convertible you've had. You can see in terms of the cargo space, you have just under 30 cubic feet back here. which is definitely pretty class competitive. Underneath the floor here, there's also a little bit of underfloor storage. No spare tire, however. You just get a fix-a-flat kit with an air compressor. And if you want to fold down that second row seat back there, it expands the cargo to around 64 cubic feet of space. So again, it's very competitive, not class leading, but it's certainly among the better in the segment. And you also have the extra frunk storage there, which offers up nearly another 5 cubic feet. So moving on to the interior of the 2024 Mustang Mach-E GT Performance. Just like the exterior, the changes here on the inside are pretty minimalistic, but they're actually more minimal versus the changes that Ford made on the outside. You can see for 2024, the big story here with the GT trims is all of them come with the performance upgraded seats. So these are like a Recaro style bucket seats with a suede Alcantara, the contrast stitching, the black leather, with this kind of interesting pattern here in the actual seat insert. These seats themselves are heated 3 levels, but they are still not ventilated. I'm really sad to see that Ford didn't offer ventilated seats. I think that's something they should have. The driver's seat here is an 8-way power, 6-way power on the passenger side. You also get a 3-person memory function. And if you guys want a lighter color interior, you're gonna have to step down from the GT trim because this trim only comes with this kind of black space gray combination. It's really more of like a dark charcoal interior to me. So I really was hoping Ford would offer like a red or like a light color interior. I'm hoping they'll eventually offer that at some point, especially if consumers demand that. Now, in terms of the door panel materials, you can see the Mach-E has always had some pretty premium materials, and that stays true for 2024. You can see the upper portion has this nice soft touch injection molded plastic that feels more like actual leather. I love the aluminum trim that goes along this area here. You have the suede Alcantara, a nice padded center or armrest here. Window controls, they're one touch automatic for all 4. They still have a really high quality feel. Your mirror controls are over here along with your memory switch controls. You have the Bang & Olufsen stereo system in this car, which is included if you guys go for the premium trims and up. And then down here it is hard touch plastic with a little bit of storage. But overall, you can see the material quality in this car is still among the best that you're going to find in this segment, which is surprising because, again, it's not a Lincoln, it's just a Ford. But getting inside, the Mach-E definitely feels more like a lifted up hatchback as opposed to an SUV. I think these have like around 6 to 6.5 inches of ground clearance, perhaps. As I get in and shut the door has a really nice solid sounding thunk actually, so it adds that impression of quality. Now, here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see all Mach-Es come standard with the company's intelligent access key with usual buttons here for unlock, lock, power liftgate, and panic function. You can see there's a running horse logo here to let you know that you have a Mustang. Ford still offers their phone as a key function as well, which is actually standard on every trim, and I've lived with it when I owned one, and it works reliably, I want to say 75% of the time, so I'll have to wait until I actually have one and see if Ford can let me use my phone as a key to see if they've improved the reliability. Unlike some competitors like a Volkswagen ID4 or a Tesla, you do have to put your foot on the brake and then push a power button here to actually start the car up. Some competitors, again, kind of get rid of that additional step, but when you do that, the car still comes to life with the usual Ford chime. And then in terms of the infotainment, this is still the same. You have a 15.5-inch display here in the center that controls basically everything. And then Ford, unlike Tesla, gives you a 10.2-inch instrument panel display here that allows you to see your speed, your range, your vehicle informations. I love the fact that Ford still includes that. All models are also equipped with their Blue Cruise 1.3. It's their latest version. You get a 90-day trial standard, and then for an extra like $1,000, you can add, I believe, a 3-year trial. So that's something to keep in mind. The steering wheel is still practically the same. You have the contrast white stitching, the running horse logo here. No flat bottom design, no Alcantara. I kind of wish that Ford had done with a different steering wheel on this trim. So it just would add to that more special feel. No paddles on the wheel for any regen braking. You have controls here to control the Blue Cruise, the lane keep assist, to skip forward and track for your audio controls. You have a steering wheel that gives you a manual tilt and telescoping function with a good amount of adjustability and range, so that's nice. The horn, it actually is really loud, surprisingly. I like that. It kind of says, get out of my way if you're trying to honk at somebody on the road. And then in terms of the dashboard materials, you can see this upper portion is a hard touch plastic material with kind of like a cheaper feeling graining material. I love this B&O stereo that kind of like looks like it makes up the entire dash with the kind of the speaker grill that kind of looks like it extends from here all the way to the other side. You have this kind of textured alloy carbon fiber look trim with the suede Alcantara and the stitching. Over here, the real stitching that kind of carries over onto the driver's side area, which is nice. I also like how the air vents in this car are a traditional manual adjustment one that you don't have to go into a screen to adjust like in some competitors, so that's a really nice touch. And then here, Ford basically says they've made some software improvements to the Sync 4A. So when this car first launched, you guys remember it had a volume knob here that obviously allowed you to turn up and on and off the volume of the vehicle and also turn on and off the radio. Now they've added functionality where you can also use it as like a vent or a wheel to kind of control the air conditioning and the fan speed. which is also a nice touch. You can see this essentially is kind of glued onto the screen, the volume knob is, and it allows, it kind of has these little fingers that grab onto the screen, and that's how it, you know, adjusts things by rotating that around. Your heated seat control is going to be located here, so you can see there's 3-level heated seats. There's an automatic function, but again, missed opportunity for Ford by not going with ventilated seats. You have your heated steering wheel control over here, and then you can see there's your Apple CarPlay hooked up. It's wireless, same thing with Android Auto. It also looks fantastic in the big screen. It's relatively quick and snappy and easy to use. This is not Ford's newest like Ford digital experience that we see in the Explorer or from Lincoln, so I'm surprised they didn't want to do that. But you can see, click the little car icon there. This is where you access your drive mode settings. So you can see there's still Whisper, Engage, and then which is kind of like the normal setting, and then there's also the Unbridled, which is their sports setting. There's also a 1-pedal drive feature here, which Ford has also tweaked that a little bit. We'll talk about that during the driving scene. There's still a propulsion sound here. Unbridled Extend is if you're actually on a track. This will allow you to essentially preserve the power of the vehicle and also turn off the traction and stability control when you're actually out on a track, which is a nice touch. And then everything else is kind of controlled from here. If you push that button here, you can see there's your full 360 camera. I believe that's included when you go for the premium trims and up. The resolution and quality is pretty good. You can also go to slightly different views of the camera system, along with parking sensors, rear cross-traffic braking, all that stuff you basically expect is included, which is a nice touch. There's also now games integrated into this screen, so if you guys are at a charging station, you can now play games and whatnot, whatever you'd like to do on the actual screen. So that's kind of stuff that Tesla's been doing, and you also get the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so that's one of the reasons why, you know, this screen I think is not, while it's not the largest, it certainly is still very easy to use, and I love the fact that the CarPlay icons are huge. That's going to be great for people who don't see, you know, these little tiny icons very well. Now down here you can see the center console houses a wireless phone charging pad. You can see my iPhone 14 Pro Max just barely fits. On the other side, however, it is not a wireless charger, so it's only here on the driver's side. It's kind of a missed opportunity. Ford could have done it on both sides. You can see there's the icon there to let you know. You have your cup holders here, obviously. You have a little bit more storage underneath here. And then, as you can see on the rest of the console, there's some nice leather area here. This controls the dial for the 1-speed reduction gear transmission. This car also has an auto park feature. You have your electronic parking brake, hazard control. It still says GT here on this padded armrest, which is a nice touch. And then if you open this up, you can see pretty deep center console area with a 12-volt power outlet, a nice little sturdy lid to close that up if you want to hide stuff. There's also USB chargers down here. It's a C and an A, so that pretty much hasn't changed, which again is what you expect in a modern car like this. The glove compartment, I want to show you that real quick. You can see it's still a bin style. It's damped but not lined with felt. It offers a pretty good amount of storage. If you guys are an audiophile, the B&O sound system also sounds really good. And then above me here, you can see without the glass roof, you do have a little bit more headroom, but I have to say, I think I'd rather go for the glass roof just because it adds more light. The glass roof doesn't open to vent air, and it also doesn't have a retractable shade. So if you guys don't want that, you probably will save yourself $1,500 anyways. And these seats are also still comfortable, supportive. They hold you in place nicely. I just wanted Ford to offer a cooled feature, which I don't understand why they don't offer that. But overall, the interior still has that premium look and feel. It still has all the technology that you would expect from Ford. It still has a killer sound system. It also has good sightlines throughout, so I think that a lot of people are going to get into this car and really be impressed with the interior still. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area so I can show you guys quickly what that's like. Now Rob's pushing the button here and then pulling the door open, which actually is a pretty easy thing to do once you get used to it. You can see the back seats obviously is a bench. It seats 3 people across. The seats themselves, they do offer the ability to fold them down flat, and I actually have to say it creates a nearly flat floor, so I really appreciate that, which is a nice touch. The seats themselves, they don't offer a recline function, I don't believe. Let me move the seatbelt out of the way. Nope, they don't actually offer a recline function. They just fold down. This also doesn't slide forward and back. But once you get back here, you can see, I like the fact that when you're back here, close the door, material quality is still the same high quality from the front seat, so a nice soft touch area that feels like leather. You have the Alcantara here, padded here, which is nice. You know, window controls feel nice and metal accented. Down here you can see there's a completely flat floor, and Ford says there's 38 inches of legroom. I have to say, this is where I have the seat to drive. 38 seems like a stretch, but there's good foot space underneath here. At 5'7", I can kind of get comfortable pretty easily. You have rear seat air vents. You have 2 USB charging ports, an A and a C. No heated rear seats back here. But you can see in terms of the headroom space, for somebody my height, I'm not very tall, I have a decent amount of space, which is nice. I can sit back here and I can cross my legs and get comfortable. And then if you fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders. So again, if you are looking to use this to carry adults, the Mach-E can certainly do so, but just keep in mind that some competitors do offer a little bit more legroom, a little bit more headroom. Something like the ID.4 or the Tesla Model Y comes to mind. So here we are finally driving the revised 2024 Ford Mustang Mach-E, this one being the GT with the performance upgrade package. Ford says that they've given this car a new rear electric motor. They've also upgraded the front electric motor, and they've basically given us an extra 70-ish foot-pounds of torque compared to the pre-refresh version. Let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise here. Holy moly. Wow, okay. Well, that one did it, the run in 3.77 seconds there. Whoa. Sorry, Rob, for giving you a scare there. And then, of course, there's that F-150 that literally almost went into the oncoming lane. But the one thing I'm noticing right away about this car is it definitely gives you really strong power off the line. And that's something that I'd never really noticed, or I kind of noticed Ford limited the power on the pre-refresh version. Remember, the rear electric motor is now developed in-house, and it comes from the Ford F-150 Lightning, and it certainly gives this car much faster acceleration. Now, that run there, 3.77, basically matches the time that we got in a 2022 version of this car. Now, I want to see if we can do better, because Ford now claims it's 3.3 seconds. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on certain conditions, on whatnot, and I want to see if we can actually do a better time here. So let's pull off and see.
There's a little bit of wheel spin. Like
there was.
Back, it felt like.
All right, so we found another straight road here, and this time we're going to see if we can actually not get any wheel spin, because I think this car can actually brake in under 3.5 seconds here. So I'm holding onto the wheel, and we're just going to floor it. Wow, 3.8 there. Now, that's with it going slightly downhill, so I'm not entirely sure why that's a little bit slower. This car definitely feels quick, and you know what? I also noticed that the prison bars are finally gone, because we had our foot down there for over 5 seconds, and previously, if you did that, it would cut power. It would start to reduce the maximum power, and that was because of the limitations with cooling and with the previous rear electric motor. Now, with them doing the in-house motor from the F-150, this car feels appropriately fast. Now, I wish I could get a slightly quicker time. We'll have to see if we can, retest it at some other point.
Do it one more time here. Don't turn the wheel right off the line, because I bet you that's doing something. Keep your wheels straight. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
All right, we'll try
one more time.
One more time here. Oh, man, it really spins out those front tires. 3.77 again there, so pretty consistent. That's also with it saying it's on level ground. Here. All right, hold on.
It stepped out.
Wow. All right, 3.85 there. So this car now has so much power, it literally lifts up the front end and does a front wheel burnout. So it really shows you that Ford's performance team wanted to make this car feel worthy of that GT performance badge. I mean, the old one did initially, but then you would start to cut power, and it felt a lot slower than competitors, its main rival, like the Tesla Model Y Performance. Now, this definitely doesn't feel quite up to the par of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. I just drove that vehicle, although I haven't had one for a full week to test yet, but this is now going to keep pace with the Model Y Performance, at least until whatever Tesla decides to reveal the Model Y Highland, the refreshed version with more power, and it's going to be even quicker. So it's great to see Ford making those improvements there, and it's also wonderful to see them getting rid of those silly prison bars that just made the car feel a lot slower and just cut the power. So this is a big change, and I really applaud Ford for making that change. Now, the other thing they made different about the GTs this year is the fact that the magno-rheological dampers are now standard. That used to be part of the GT Performance trim, which is like an extra $5,000 or $6,000. We also have the upgraded 15-inch Brembo brakes with the 4-pot calipers. That's now standard. That used to again be on the performance package. So this car definitely has the chops to make it seem like you're driving more like a hot hatch or something like worthy of the Mustang name. They've also tweaked a little bit the one-pedal drive in this car, so I have it turned on right now. The one-pedal drive still gives you a pretty strong amount of regen, although it's not quite as strong as some other EVs I've tested. But the beauty is it now will kind of it'll slow you down, and then it'll actually hold you at a full stop. Which is a nice improvement. I think that all one-pedal drives should be doing that. They shouldn't actually just turn off after like 5 miles an hour where you have to hit the brakes. I think that that's just too annoying, especially if you're used to one car that does this, the other brand does that. In terms of the visibility, the Mach-E is still a relatively easy car to drive. The hood is long, which is strange to feel with an EV, but it's what gives you that bigger frunk, and that's one of the reasons why this car looks so good, is because it has that long hood, to show that it's part of the Mustang family. Even though this vehicle technically is built off of a platform that was for internal combustion, they modified it to be for an EV usage, so it's not a fully dedicated EV architecture. But the Mach-E, with its 20-inch wheels and these Magno-Relogical dampers, it definitely has a firmer ride quality, but it's also not horrible. I definitely thought that some other EVs have a stiffer ride. The suspension tuning in this car has also been a little bit redone this year to where it's got really good rebound control. The steering in this car also is quick and precise. The car's suspension definitely feels a little on the softer side, so that's something to keep in mind. The visibility out of the back is also good, although I wish Ford offered a digital camera rearview mirror. And then of course we have the latest version of Ford's Blue Cruise, which is now in 1.3 phase. They've added automatic lane change functionality. They've reprogrammed the lane centering so it keeps you centered in the lane a little bit better. And then with these GT Performance seats, these used to be optional, they're standard now, and they really do a much better job of holding you in place. I also want to point out, we've been doing these acceleration runs in this video with the battery at 63% state of charge. Now typically, in the pre-refreshed Mach-E, if you were at below 70%, you were seriously noticing a huge reduction in power compared to when you were at a full charge. So the fact that we were getting 3.7 and it feels this fast, to where it's literally like lifting up the front end and spinning out the front tires even at 63%, shows that Ford again has made some drastic improvements. Now it's showing around 151 miles of range right now. The company says that you get around 280 now on the GT Performance, or the GT Performance upgrade. That was as low as 260, so they have improved the range by about 20 miles. The longest range Mach-E is going to do around 320 for the premium long-range rear-wheel drive. The Mach-E Rally, which we'll be driving tomorrow, will do around 265, and that's because of its suspension lift, its knobbier tires. But overall, I really think that the Mach-E GT with this performance upgrade package got a huge upgrade this year. I mean, they basically addressed my big criticism with the acceleration. It's a criticism that a lot of enthusiasts were going after. I also love the way that this car looks with this eruption green color with the bronze wheel package. So overall, I think if you're an enthusiast or you're looking for a fast EV, the Mach-E GT with the performance upgrade package, at least this year, I think that they finally created a Mach-E that feels 100% worthy of that GT badge. So with nearly 41,000 units sold here in America last year, the Mustang Mach-E, like I said before, was the second best-selling premium electric small SUV that you could buy. Obviously, the Tesla Model Y is still the sales king. Tesla did almost 10 times as many Mach-Es, but still, this is a win for Ford because they had their best sales year ever. And after spending the time today driving the GT with the performance upgrade package, I have to say, Ford has made some really nice improvements. First of all, the styling of the Mach-E was already amongst my favorites, so by them offering this new bronze appearance package with this green color, it certainly amps things up even further. I also like the new wheels. Really, the biggest change obviously is going to be in the driving, the acceleration, because that new rear electric motor from the F-150 has seriously fixed the biggest flaw that I had with the GT Performance. Because remember, I actually owned one for about a year, and it always gave you those prison bars every time you used acceleration or you gave it maximum throttle for 5 seconds or more. So it's great to see that Ford has finally lifted that restriction. I also want to clarify, because when we did those acceleration runs, we got 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. That's with the battery at around 63%. Now, if I remember correctly, mine, when I had the battery below 70 or below 80%, the performance really started to taper off. So I think when I tested it when it had under 80% charge, it was doing it in the 4.2, 4.3 second range. So the fact that this car at 63% already beat the old version that I had by around half a second with like only 60% charge is improved. So I can't wait to get one of these back home for a full week to test on a full charge, where we can try to see if we can get close to that 3.3 second claim. Also keep in mind that this particular one that we're driving here has the Continental all-season tires, and they were definitely struggling for traction. You guys heard that they were spitting out the front tires. This car actually loved to get a little sideways, so that's great from an enthusiast perspective because it just adds some drama to this car. So it's really great to see Ford really improving the overall acceleration feel. I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test out for a week with the range because, 280 miles is certainly a 20-mile improvement. And if you guys are also seeing or wanting to see our full driving review on the Rally version, because there's a new trim this year, it's the Rally, we'll be actually uploading that one in a couple days. So be sure to come back on May 30th. Where we'll review a separate video, or we'll upload a separate video on the Rally trim. Ford also had us go out on a Rally dirt course so we can actually drive that vehicle. So that also should be pretty fun. But if you guys are looking for just a GT performance trim or any other Mach-E, whether it be the Select or the Premium or the GTs, these are now heading to your local Ford dealership now. And the beauty about the Mach-E versus when I first showed you guys this car like 4 years ago is Ford has reduced the pricing of this car. Of course, that's because Tesla has been doing that. It forced all the other brands to do it. So if you want to get your hands on a Mach-E for 2024, they now start at under $40,000, $39,995 or $39,595 for the base Select with rear-wheel drive, which is actually a great deal because the Selects now have more equipment, like the 19-inch wheels is standard equipment, which is great. If you guys want to go and add all-wheel drive, it'll cost you around $2,700. If you want to add the bigger battery pack, it'll cost you around $2,700. A premium trim will basically come in the mid to high $50,000 or $40,000 range, perhaps around $50,000 if you guys add all-wheel drive in the bigger battery pack. A GT version will start at least $53,995. That's actually a pretty good deal, right around the same price as a Model Y Performance. Remember, when the GT first came out, these cars were around $60,000 or $67,000 with the Performance Upgrade Package. My particular test car here with the Bronze Appearance Package, the Performance Upgrade Package, the extra charge for the color, and destination comes in at around $61,525. Now keep in mind that is before the $7,500 federal tax credit, which I believe the Mach-E only qualified for half. I don't know if they qualify for the full right now because remember, these are built in Mexico, but there was a clause here where some of the minerals were coming from countries where the US didn't have a free trade agreement, so it only qualified for half the tax credit. You can of course get around that by just leasing the car. But overall, I think Ford has done a phenomenal job here in making this car feel more worthy of the GT Performance badge. But just keep in mind, there are also a ton of other vehicles out there that make this car, still appealing. But if you want even faster EVs, Hyundai will happily sell you an Ioniq 5N, and then there's probably also a better and faster version of the Model Y coming out at some point. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2024 Ford Mustang Mach-E GT with the Performance Upgrade Package. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.